Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Oh, being on this show, I meet a lot of interesting people with different lines of work, hobbies, interests. I found somebody unlike I've never met before. What she offers, I didn't even know it existed. Mobile pastoral services. What does that mean? Let's say you have a wedding, an elopement, maybe a baby dedication, maybe a memorial service, and you want it in your backyard. You want it in your living room. She shows up. Yes, I said mobile, and takes care of all that for you. Unique, interesting. She's in the Vegas area. Joelle Righetti joins us here on the program. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, Steve. It's nice to meet you. How are you today?
I am well. I'm well. This is completely unique in what you offer. When we say, and I gave a couple of examples of what pastoral services are, but what am I missing? What are some of the other things that you offer?
Well, I also work currently, my full-time gig is with a hospice company. I'm a hospice pastor during the day. And so my part of my eclecticness of the journey that I'm on is catering to people that need something brought to them. You know, church isn't something that a lot of people want to just run to, but there are needs. We have people that pass, and maybe you want to just memorialize the dead, you know. It's necessary. It's important for families to grieve. And so, you know, I have found that part of this niche market is you know, helping others grieve, helping others have an intimate elopement. Sometimes people just run to Vegas and they don't want to spend 50 grand on a wedding. They want to just have the two of them. And I love that, you know. I meet my clients anywhere, on the sidewalk, in the hotel rooms. You know, it's fun. And it's there's a strong sense of giving them a memory that they can't just get by walking into a church. Oftentimes churches have rules. They have rules and regs. You can't just walk in off the street and get married in a church. You have to belong. You got to donate a certain amount of money sometimes. And sometimes you got to go through marriage counseling. Some people don't want to do that today. We're in a different movement today. 100%. It's fast paced. People want it brought to them. They want to get it over with. They want to do something, but they want it to matter.
And custom. And that's what I detect from you, and had no idea about your hospice background. So that just brings me to, let's say somebody is close to passing. They want to be home. A family member wants to be home. And that's where you can come in. You know, just one other aspect of what you can offer. Wow. There's so many different things that have going through my mind here. You know, if somebody wants a backyard wedding, who are you going to call?
I would also too, you want to hear something funny is many years ago, I partnered with the jail, and I reached out to the prison not long ago. And well, I mean, it's been several years. I used to do ministry in the prisons, but now I partner with the prisons and I go in there and do the ceremonies. People need to get married for legal reasons. We don't have conjugal visits here in Las Vegas, but sometimes people got to get married because they can't get to their things but being locked up. And you know, so I have the pleasure of going into the prison and meeting with my clients and hearing their cries. You know, the prison system is not very kind when it comes to granting any kind of wants. They don't care about you. It's a different thing. I care. And I call them back. They have to get on the phone with the chaplain of the prison 100 times before the chaplain will call them back and grant them the permission to get married to their loved one. Me, I call you, I'll answer my phone, you know, and I go there and meet them, and I'm punctual, and I provide a hands-on service, and that's what's missing today. You know, I think we've gotten so adjusted to hanging on to our phones, and we forget that people, you know, are people, and they want to be appreciated. They want to be valued. And that's what's missing in today's society. I didn't get into ministry to be a pulpit preacher. I wasn't your normal pulpit preacher type. When I went to Bible college, they looked down on me. I'm not the norm, but that's what makes it so great. And that's where my qualifications and what I have to add to life works so well.
In my view of what you do and you in general, it's like a breath of fresh air for all of these services that we want to get done. And when you start thinking about it, there's so many more, and you want them to be custom. And I have to imagine that you're ordained where you can perform pretty much any type of service. Am I getting that right?
Yep, yep. I mean, I've even been hired to fly all the way to the Dominican Republic and do a wedding on the beach. And I'm not mad at you. If you want to hire me, if you have got some money and you want to hire me to go to a foreign land, I'm for hire, man. It's like people are people, they want what they want, and I'm here to bring it to you. So, there's no shame
Well,
in what I do.
funny you should say that because I have a friend that's leaving in 2 days to get married in the Dominican Republic. Didn't even know you did that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
What are some of the other things that we should know in terms of ceremonies, services? I mean, I'm sure because you're mobile, you could do things last minute. Something comes up, something changes, right?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too is, I don't put a lid on anything for anyone because things change. Life comes with change. You can't tell somebody, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Well, why not? I mean, we live in such a society of choice. Give people what they want. Somebody will call me in the morning and say, "Hey, we want to get married." For example, um, I had a couple call me last week. They flew into town. They were both military. They had been dating for a couple years. They were older. They had been through it before. They didn't know what they wanted. So they reached out to me, and turns out I picked them up on the corner of the entrance of the Air Force Base because they didn't have a car, so they got Ubered there. They wanted to get married on the Nellis Air Force Base. So they got in my car. We drove through Nellis Air Force Base, not knowing what was going to happen. And when we got on the property, we passed this chapel. And I said, "Well, what about that property?" And he goes, "Well, you need permission to go in there." And I said, "Well, wouldn't it be better to ask for forgiveness than it would be to ask for permission? Let's just go in there." Well, the sun was going down. It was 7 o'clock at night here in this hot desert. And we walked into this church that was unlocked. There wasn't a soul around. There was this beautiful light coming through these glass windows. And this couple got married. I grabbed a witness off the street. There was a civilian on the street in front of the church for my witness. I married them. And, this is a memory for them. They've written to me 4 times since they've gotten home and said, "We couldn't have asked for a more precious moment in a
Wow.
situation where, we just dive in." I mean, I'm not a risk taker, but I certainly will make exceptions for, certain things. And that was an exception. I made that happen for them. So it was cool.
Wow. And I picture I'm in the car with you. We're driving through the base, and you got the couple in the back. And if somebody says something, "Hey man, they're getting married. They're getting married. We got to go through." That's it. What's a big deal? No, no. I don't
Yeah.
see a security risk there.
Yeah.
How about some other stories of ceremonies, things that you've done, maybe a
Yeah.
little unusual stuff?
Yeah. I've done a lot of, I got a call a couple weeks ago. There was a 19-year-old boy that was murdered, and his father called me, and he was just crumbled. And he wanted something private with his family to memorialize his son. And, the beauty of what I do is I was able to provide, we have a guy here that flies doves during the ceremony. You pay him a specific amount, and he flies these doves in the middle of the ceremony. And during my ceremony, I always play a light, delicate music in the background. And so we met early in the morning at a park per my suggestion because he didn't know where he wanted to do it, but he did have a tree planted in his son's honor. So we did the ceremony under the tree. And then the doves were flown, and that family got a chance to grieve their loved one in this private
Wow.
moment in a beautiful park. That was, the other thing too is I'm affordable. I'm not here. I don't want to take a I don't want to take a screwdriver to somebody's eye and gouge it out. It's like God has chosen me for such a time as this to help people. And, I had such wonderful stories that I read about some amazing pastors and people that have been the hands and feet of Jesus. How do you believe what the church has to offer if it's always closing its door in the public space, or they're not providing the words that they want to hear?
Mm.
There's so many of Jesus followers out here in the world, and I just felt like what I have to give is what people are thirsty for. they just want privacy. They want to feel special. And so, that's sort of what it is. One of the journeys I'm on right now with a family of mine, there's a couple of ladies that are married, and one of the spouses is passing. And, we've already talked about the funeral. I know what I'm going to do for them when she passes. I've become really good friends with these ladies. They're on our service at Harbor. And so, it's stuff like that. I walk with the family. I become their friends. I'm not just a clergy member. I'm a person, and I should hold my standards higher, which I do. But I also treat people with respect, no matter what they believe. I don't care what you believe. It's not my problem. My problem isn't to judge you. My problem is to help you. And isn't that what the church is about? It's about helping people and loving on others, because that's what we're here to do, is to love people.
Tell me
in
about
the
your
name
journey. How did this all begin?
Well, oddly enough, in the 60s, my family moved here from Ohio. My father was a security guard for Elvis Presley,
Oh, wow.
and my uncle played saxophone for Sinatra. And I grew up in the throes of the Rat Pack and Margaret and Raquel Welch. I got into show business at an early age. I had a thirst for show business because of what I saw. I remembered having pizza with Steve and Edie Gourmet that would come to our house. We had an Italian cultural family.
Did they
And
say
my
something stupid?
no, that was Nancy Sinatra and
Oh,
Frank.
okay. Steve and Edie had one signature song, and I'm trying to remember which one it was.
They had a lot of them, believe it or not. They
I thought
were
there was one
iconic here.
that stood
Yeah.
out. All right. Well,
Yeah. But
who?
something stupid was Nancy and Frank.
Okay. Yeah, maybe they did a version of it, but
They
sorry, I
did.
digress.
They did, yeah.
Okay.
So I started early on from my attraction of show business into the ballet world. I studied a little bit with American Ballet Theater. I spent some time here with Nevada Dance Theater as a young girl and a protege under Vasily Sulich. And then I started a musical and a journey here as a show business person for 4 decades. Las Vegas water makes you pretty. So that's what I keep drinking. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know the years, but you look fantastic if that's the case. Wow.
I'm almost 60. I'm not a kid. So, but
We're
and
we're
I'm
drinking the
not
same we're drinking the same water.
same water. I
Maybe
was
wait a
born
minute, maybe it's holy water. What do we know? I don't know.
maybe I don't know.
I
Maybe it
don't,
is. You had a little Trump there in you. Maybe it's holy water. Maybe it's holy water. Anyway,
um,
yeah. So anyway, I just I feel like being a product of the 60s and living this Las Vegas life, I had a very young journey in show business. I was one of the youngest performers in the Follies Bergère here in Las Vegas in 1984. I was an acrobat. And then I ended up working for 20 years with a magician named Lance Burton. I was his assistant. I levitated and I was on all these billboards, and we did national television every year. And I got to do Jay Leno and David Letterman. And, I had a little taste of that show business thing. I also was an original songwriter. I was in the music business for a minute. That's
wow.
something I've never been able to put down. I'm a singer. I have a lounge act here in Las Vegas that I still play in lounges and bands and bars at night. So not only
Wow.
am I a hospice pastor, but I also sing in a lounge with Joelle and the Gypsy Band. Why not? Because, it's just, I'm in a fast-paced desert. I might as well take advantage of all the gifts that God has given me on the rotary dial. That's what makes me so different is I love people. I perform to people. I know people. And being older and having all of these remnants of my career has been amazing in adding to what I'm doing in my life right now.
Well, I feel that if you've been around a while, you have a lot of experience, obviously. You've seen a lot, but also a certain level of confidence where I'm just doing my thing now. I don't care what you think. I'm here to, blaze that trail through and help people in a unique way, which is exactly what you're doing. Amazing. Wow.
Well, oftentimes at my funerals, there's a poem. It's the dash poem. And the
Uh,
preface of it is, what are you doing with your dash? What are you doing here? Are you making it better than the way that you came here and found it? Make it better,
yeah.
we have to believe that there is the place called heaven that we get to go to. And, God doesn't come to annihilate us as a people. He says biblically that we will live again in heaven and earth. He talks about that. He talks about the restoration of earth, not just that he'll kill us all off and be done, but that, Eden was a garden that he promised us to live in. And it wasn't intended for Eve to eat an apple and then destroy it. He intended for us to live there. And I think that we get to go back to Eden when we get back to the revival of whatever it is that Jesus talks about biblically, and
We
that's
are.
where.
I want to talk about weddings real quick because we're in wedding season. What
Yeah.
are some things for a couple that's thinking about getting married? They're planning their wedding. The vows, is that when somebody comes before you, should they prepare their vows? Do you help walk them through? Do you have a template? Like, how does that work?
So I have a 10-minute non-denominational ceremony with ring exchange. Now, I provide you with repeat after me. If you want something special after the ring ceremony, I give you an opportunity to say your own vows, and that opens up the door for people. But for the most part, I negate the 10-minute ceremony. And that's suitable for most people because sometimes clients don't want to be put on the spot, even if it's just the two of them. They want to be told what to say. And so I provide that.
Yeah, and that's wonderful because it's new territory, for many of us. Maybe it's your
Uh-huh.
second time around, who knows? But you don't know what to do. You don't know what should be said. Although there are some, I'm sure, that are particular, like nowadays, I don't believe most ceremonies with the vows say, I now pronounce you man and wife. Isn't it something different now?
Well, if it's if it's a same-sex couple, I now pronounce you spouses for life. Sometimes people just want they want a commitment ceremony. They can't do a paper trail. Maybe they're bonded to an ex-spouse with some financials and they want to be together. They want to have something special with just the two of them. I
Hmm.
do those too. Those
Wow.
that's called a commitment ceremony. So
Okay.
commitment ceremonies are common.
I wasn't aware of that. It's almost like it's symbolic. It's symbolic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, if you
Hmm.
think about it, sometimes when you're older and you meet somebody and you want it to feel special, but maybe there's legal matters in the middle of it. Life happens and you're on a journey. It is what it is. The other day, I had a lady call me and her and her ex-husband, they found each other again after several years. He was on his deathbed, and she called me and said he wants me to have everything from when we were married. They had a horrible divorce. So I met them in the hospital. I have this picture on my Facebook page, on the Gypsy Mobile Minister Facebook page, of this woman bending over to kiss her fiance, who was now her husband. And he was, that was at the end of his days. And he wanted to spend those last days with his ex-wife, but now wife. So,
Wow. No, and you couldn't get that done unless it was done on location in a mobile
that's
way.
right. That's my point
Wow.
is, what? I got people that are dying. They gotta get the paper trail. Because what are you going to do with your stuff if you don't have it legally wrapped up? Guess what? The state grabs it. And so oftentimes it's a paper trail. It really is. And it sucks that that's what it is. I have a document signing today. Here's another situation. I get people call me and they say, my Uncle John, he was going to come here and marry us, but he didn't turn his paperwork in time. And so now he can't sign the documents. And I go, I'll meet you. I'll sign your documents. I'll meet the couple. I'll informally marry them with a piece of paper. Now you can have your wedding any way you want it. Now it's a
Hmm.
document signing. That's another thing that people don't realize. They go, well, we want my brother to marry us, but he's not ordained. Great. He can marry you. I don't care. It's not my problem what you do after I sign the papers. You can go run into the sunset together. Don't care,
Hmm.
you know?
Again, I guess it's just symbolic. It's not legal binding if yeah, family member does it and they're not ordained, but you've blessed it and legally blessed it,
Yeah.
if you will.
The other thing too is a lot of times military people will come in. Someone gets, they have to leave. They got to go on a mission and they want to get married before they leave. And I do what's called an expedited service in the court system. I have an extra fee for that, but I'll go down to the courthouse and I'll get it date stamped and put into the same day. So, yeah,
Wow.
that's something that I also do is an expedited wedding. So,
So this
I
is
marry
all
you.
you'll travel if needed, but your primary base is around Vegas. Is that right?
Yeah, around the confines of the inner city of Las Vegas. If you go on the outskirts, I might raise the price a little bit. The prison is about 50 miles out, so I do charge double for that. It just all depends on, and plus, right now the gas prices are really high, so I'm just trying to survive. And really, it's pennies. I don't have a building, and I don't really charge a ton of money. I'm not gouging you, but I am bringing you something special.
Well,
The other thing too is
I'm sorry.
I love to
Continue.
what?
We have a little bit of a delay, so I'm sorry I spoke when you spoke. So continue.
No, that's okay. The other thing too is prior to the ceremony, I get a brief sentence about the couple's first date. And I incorporate that into their ceremony. And I say, Joe and Sue, your first date was at the drive-in movie, and then you ended up at pizza and something sparked. And now you have two four-legged friends named Larry and Josh, and you have 4 children and 3 great-grandchildren. And today you're going to blend your families. I always make a point to get a backstory on my couple because it matters.
Love it. Tell me about elopements. Is that a thing still?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I got a couple that's here right now. They flew in, they want to get married. I'm doing them in a hotel room this weekend. They called me on Monday. They're flying in on Friday. They want to get married on Saturday afternoon in a hotel room. It's also 120 degrees here during the day. So they want to stay indoors and stay cool, but they got a room that overlooks the strip. So,
Wow.
It's great. And that's an elopement.
Have you ever been surprised by something that somebody asked of you, or maybe there's something you had to turn down? I don't know.
I had a guy come in town. He was a lawyer, young lawyer with his fiance, and he called me. He had a very strong accent. He was from Kentucky, and he said, "I want to get married in a pet cemetery." And I said, "You want to get married in a what?" He goes, "In a pet cemetery." I said, "Any pet cemetery?" He goes, "Yep, that's right." So I met them at our local pet cemetery and did a ceremony there. I don't know why, but he wanted to be one with the animals. So it is what it is, right?
Wow. We are not to judge. We are not to judge
at all.
Not. So Joelle, how do we find you? Somebody's thinking about something. How do they connect?
Yeah. So if you type in mobile officiants or mobile pastoral services, chances are you're going to find me on the first page. My business name is the Gypsy Mobile Minister, and I have the website is the Gypsy Mobile Minister. My email is the Gypsy Mobile Minister at Gmail, but I'm the Gypsy Mobile Minister. A lot of people say, why the Gypsy? Because I feel like a ping pong ball. I'm in my car. I live in my car, and I put more miles on my car than anybody that I know, which it is what it is. But yeah, the Gypsy Mobile Minister, and the gypsymobileminister.com is how you find me.
Awesome.
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all that. So easy.
Yeah. Wonderful talking with you. Very refreshing. A lot of this stuff we don't know about if you've never been married, if you've never had to say goodbye in a special way. And this is all in your wheelhouse, and fantastic. Like, what a great service. Seriously.
Steve, it was so nice to meet you, and thank you for your interview. You were amazing, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're amazing. And I love the stories. Like, your energy is like off the scale, and I guess we'll talk soon. All the best to you.
If you ever come to Vegas, reach out.
Thank you.
Love to have a coffee with you. Take care.
Same. We'll be right back.
Right.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.